Welcome back to another episode of Treknicity, a Star Trek podcast. I'm your host, Lars.
And I'm Patrick.
In this episode, we are going to be recapping Star Trek Lower Decks Season 3, Episode 8, Crisis 2, Paradoxous.
Finally, because IRL just kicked our ass for a few days.
Yes, it did.
So we took long enough. Let's just get straight into this. Because this episode is the one and only Crisis Point 2, Paradoxous. Obviously, fun-ass episode. We enjoyed the hell out of it. And I think that's all we're going to say before we get into, oh my, these are spoilers.
Yep, this episode is spoilerific.
So, start off with the USS Cerritos. She's getting pounded by this Romulan warbird, taking a whole bunch of damage. Shax alerts the captain they're being boarded. Ransom tosses a phaser. So, Ransom, Shax, and Kayshawn go off to fight the Romulans, because why not? In the science bay, the Romulans beam aboard, vaporize the scientist, and take some item. They take off. So the Romulan triplets that are commanding this ship order the destruction of Cerritos, and Freeman's about ready to call to abandon ship when a big-ass Sovereign-class starship come rolling in, the USS Wayfarer, under the command of Captain Bucephalus Dagger, a.k.a. Boimler. That was... let's put it this way. First things first, Asavi showing up, that was beautiful.
The graphics on that was just amazing. The level of animation that they've reached with this series is just phenomenal.
I mean, yeah. I mean, especially when you compare it with literally every other thing out there. I mean, it's almost as photorealistic as, say, a Discovery or Strange New Worlds. Almost. Obviously, it's animated, so they're not trying to make it look photorealistic. Agreed. But if we compare it to even things like Enterprise, and I think NX-01 Enterprise was digital, right?
That is correct. Correctly. It was not a model.
Yeah. I mean, compare what that ship looked like compared to what a Sovereign class on Lower Decks looked. Obviously not as beautiful as when she rolled up in First Contact or the follow-up movies that we'll skip mentioning and really won't mention because seriously, yeah. But yeah, and obviously we know that this is a sequel to the first Crisis Point, Rise of Vindicta, which is pretty much made obvious coming up. So all the lower deckers are hanging on the bridge, and they open fire on the Romulans, and the Romulans retreat. Boimler lets them escape and discover that they were after a device called the Chronogami, which, of course,
is a portmanteau.
Freeman has to go into details explaining exactly what a Chronogami. Chrono, because it involves time, and origami, because it takes after the folding paper thing. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, like we couldn't figure that one out.
So, before they could get any further, Boimler gets a call to Ransom's office. Before he leaves, they scroll through the script, and Mariner's kind of shitting on it that it can't be nearly as good as Crisis Point's The Rise of Vindicta. Boimler says it'll be twice as good because it's Crisis Point 2. So Boimler fills him in real quick. Chronogami could be used to be destroy any point in history, and then starts the whole opening credits before he goes to see I forgot his name. Ransom. So credits are rolling. Rutherford gets excited as chief engineer. Of course, he's going to be playing Cajun, so he starts to talk Cajun. Says, I'll just play it straight. Tendi gets excited to be Lieutenant Commander Mina Vesper. Of course, Mariner already refers to as bad fan fiction, but the credits are really, really awesome. I mean, which movie did they steal those colors from?
Well, the colors themselves are from the Motionless Picture. However, the credits style itself, the font and everything, is definitely Star Trek 2.
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Even the even the space station that they go to in the movie is a ripoff of Regula Station.
Yeah, I mean, let's put this way: they get Star Trek, Star Trek Motion Picture, Star Trek 2, and we'll see Star Trek 5 all get intruded on. They kick their ass, and needless to say, it's worth again yeah. What is it? Shit, I completely. The Kelvin timeline gets it even worse. So they're finishing up the credits. Boimler returns, although he looks really down compared to before. And he says the ransom just wanted to rearrange duty shifts. So they find themselves at a Starfleet temporal laboratory on Europa, the aforementioned regular laboratory where the chronogami was created. They meet Dr. Helena Gibson, who is, of course, a former lover of Dagger. Mariner, of course, makes fun of this, but Boimler's like, okay, just tell us the mission. And he's completely down through all of this. She tells Romulans have the chronogami and is only interested. Let's see here. Tells them the discovery of space-time world lines that prevent the beginning of existence from merging with the end, and the chronogami is capable of folding these lines, allowing it to travel different points in time. Blah blah blah. More or less, you could create new timelines with younger versions of yourself playing roles, and yeah.
Which was which was them thumbing their nose at the Kelvin timeline movies.
Because of course they did. Boimler then somehow gets into some speech about how short and pointless life can be. Gives him a watch that tracks chronogami and tries to flirt with him, but he just kind of wants to leave, and they go. So they track the Romulans to, and I'm gonna butcher the name, Tadascore 9.
Tadashore.
Named after Tadashore. See, I told you I was gonna butcher it. Named after Shrax's voice actor. To purchase black market materials to power the chronogami. That's where the Romulans went. Boimler. So let's see here. They arrive there and walk through the black market, where numerous beings are expressing various beliefs and philosophies. Boimler here's one talking about Kitiha, who has the true answers for life's most important questions, and he gets all fascinated in this. We also hear somebody claiming they're all holograms in the simulation, since they're in the holodeck, and something involving Koala, because it's Lower Decks.
Yep.
So as they're talking, Tendi picks up the chronogami, and the Romulans take out on speeder bikes. So Freeman on a speeder. Freeman locates some grab cycles. Everybody except Boimler and Mariner jump on to take off. Boimler gives Tendi control of the mission while he goes to learn about Kitiha, believing it could be the key to everything. Let's see here. And, of course, gets another generic hologram named Knick Knack.
That was funny, though. He was good. He was my favorite character the entire episode.
Yeah. Knick Knack is awesome, especially when he declares his love for Boimler. And Boimler declares it back. Weird. Of course, Mariner's rolling her eyes at all the pointlessness because Boimler's indicating that this might be more important than anything he wrote. Of course, Tendi and Rutherford and the Hollow command crew from the ship are all race off. Tendi flies ahead, drops her bike, lets it slam as she vaults backwards over it and lands with Rutherford.
That was the whole point. Remember, I made a mention to you about how this show should not be sexualized like it is for a cartoon. But the fact that they don't
sexualize it, you sexualize it, you fucking perv.
Well, I am, but not really.
So am I, but
the whole thing is that they
just damn.
Yeah, and then you said to me, "Oh yeah, just wait till she just does this jump," and I'm like, "Okay, waiting for it." Damn it!
It was beautiful. It was beautiful and glorious. So So the Romulans survive the crash, activate the chronometry, and run off. And of course, everybody follows them because who knows if we'll ever get home. But hey, it's a Star Trek movie.
That's right, yeah.
Which is kind of a point that gets made later. Any other things that you can think of so far that I might have missed or stumbled over because I'm barely awake and can't remember what I'm doing?
No, that's kind of how I remember it.
So Tendi and the party arrive at a Starfleet Aquatics Research Center in 2341 during the Great Sodalian Algae Crisis, an event in which Ambassador Koro, basically a big octopus, was able to communicate and prevent the algae from killing everybody off. Believing the Romulans might want to kill him, Tendy's about to have them split up and fight the Romulans, but is annoyed when Rutherford interrupts them because he went out during the time travel sequence to get a sandwich.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Back on Tatashore, Boimler asks a man named Alustor to find the Kitiha. Alustor stalls and gives him proper answer, obviously loading, while Mariner points out that, yeah, it's just trying to generate a backstory, and you're giving it. So he reveals a map on his back with all of his saggy skin.
Yeah, that was kind of disgusting. I mean, he had like these massive, giant folds of skin. And imagine somebody who has been like morbidly obese, suddenly losing like
500 pounds.
Yeah, and the leftover skin is just like flappy wings.
Yeah, you could make a wingsuit out. You could make wingsuits out of the skin.
Yeah.
It rubs the lotion on its skin.
Oh, no. Moving on. Next.
So let me see where I'm at. I'm completely lost my track. So Luster tells Boimler that they'll all go off on the quest to find Kitiha, and Mariner bitches that he's ruining the franchise because obviously you can't completely destroy what's it called? Vindictiverse. Yes. So Boimler points out that really the whole point of the first movie was just so that Mariner could just go and murder everybody. So Mariner leaves, stepping out over the bars. Crap, my brain's not remembering words today. So Mariner report because she gets a call from Ransom anyway, so she has to go to Ransom for evaluation. He tells her she's doing a good job, and he asks how Boimler's doing because it's at this point we find out that Boimler's transporter duplicate, William Boimler, over on the Titan, apparently died in his sleep from a freak neurocene gas leak in his quarters. And Boimler's actually on bereavement leave because, yeah.
How do you do that? Like, how do you have bereavement leave if your clone dies? I mean, I understand the concept of it, but that just seems kind of messed up.
Yeah, it was kind of messed up. Okay, so obviously he points out that that Mariner's definitely got to go. That Mariner wants to play him, and he holds up, and I forget two of the three people in the picture, but there's also Nurse Westlake, named for the composer, Chris Westlake, the composer of the theme for Lower Decks. So back on the holodeck, Tendi and the rest of the party go to the late 20th century and see an ancestor, Ambassador Koro, on display in an aquarium in Sydney, Australia. And realizing the Romulans want to take out the entire family line, they're attacked by some street punks. Shax goes, "We don't want any witnesses." And they kick the shit out of him. Of course, Rutherford then has to start trying to steal their clothes, yanking the guy, taking his vest off, and trying to take his pants, which are too small because they need to find some bigger punks. Tendi again looks kind of pissed because, yeah. So Mariner returns to the holodeck, ends up on a freighter. She gets captured by unnamed acolytes. In fact, it's unnamed acolyte number 2. is told to take her to things. She finds Boimler sitting in the brig looking really, really sad. And he's partially because his story's completely fallen apart and otherwise for obvious. Mariner sits next to him, tells her that she knows about William, and Boimler says he's been unable to even process this because he basically died for no reason. I mean, Tasha Yar died for more of a reason than William Boimler. I mean, it's like, yeah. So, believing everything's stupid, he tries to leave. Mariner points out that she can find meaning because it's worth it because this is a Starfleet movie. And any Starfleet movie is worth doing. Which, of course, anybody who's watched Nemesis and Star Trek and bullshit cringed. Sure. Yeah, that's a great sentiment. No.
On a side note, a movie is bad when Star Trek V is better than it.
Yep. Because at least Star Trek V is just shit that we can laugh at and enjoy. And it is fun. And to be honest, we're excited when over in Strange New Worlds, we found out one of the bad guys or antagonists in season 2 is going to be the one and only Star Trek V baddie himself, Sybok. Sorry if I'm spoiling that for you, but yeah, once we say it's spoilerific, anything goes.
Yeah, the only thing is, I wish Larry Luckenbill would have been involved in that a little bit. Although he's only played him once, so I mean, like, okay, whatever.
It happens. I mean, they could still try to get him back. I mean, did we really? We didn't even see Sybok's face. So.
Oh no, but they couldn't. There's no way. I mean, come on. Larry Luckenbill was probably in his 50s, is either late 40s, early 50s, when Star Trek V came out, which was in 1989. Okay, we are, 32, 33 years? 33 years later? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I think he's well and truly retired from acting.
Yeah, and I can imagine. I mean, you can just imagine what even in any of the original series actors would be like if they were in one of these. Yeesh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the original actors aren't in any Star Trek franchises anymore.
So the big one here is that. So of course, Scotty style, Knick-Knack rescues them from the brig, and they go to the freighter's bridge, where Lustor, the skin dude, has assumed control. So Mariner braces for Boimler to make a big speech, but instead he decides to go do the Kirk thing and just beats the living shit out of Lustor.
Yep.
And Knick-Knack rips his clothes off for the third act reveal and just goes apeshit on everybody, and it's awesome.
Told you it's my favorite character in this entire episode.
Yeah. And then Boimler looks down, rearranges Lustor's skin, and reveals the real map to Kitiha. So, we cut back to Tendi and the party. They get to the founding of the Federation. You know, from everybody's favorite episode of Enterprise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because apparently the Romulans have given up on the plan to kill Koro and are doing something. Are just going to blow this place up. So Rutherford's trying to disarm the bomb, singing the choo-choo song, and Tendi just yells at him to stop messing around. And one of the Romulans, of course, wakes up, tries to shoot him, and Dr. Tana dives in the way and starts slowly disintegrating. And of course, when she says, Tendi tells her she'll be fine, she says, "Don't bullshit a bullshitter," before she disintegrates the rest of the way. Of course, Rutherford immediately makes a comment about it smelling like burnt Romulan, which leads to Tendi just completely blasting him for it. And he says, "What's the big deal?" And she says, "Well, I'm taking this seriously because I do want to be captain one day." So apparently she wants to be a captain. So, yeah, the two people this episode is really focused around is Tendi and Boimler. So, pretty cool. So, of course, as soon as he realizes that he's been kind of being a dick a little bit, Rutherford says, "Okay," steps in with the Hello crew and says, "Okay, Captain, what's your orders?" And they hit the rewind. They hit the rewind and go back to the Romulan attack on the Cerritos. The Romulans. We see the Romulans board the Cerritos. This time, the scientist just hands off the thing so he doesn't get disintegrated. Same things more or less play out, except that Tendy's in command of the Wayfarer and reveals that they have the chronogami and the Romulans have the bomb, and they blow up. Yay!
Which suspiciously looks like the Thaleron radiation bomb from Nemesis.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing. So, meanwhile, Boimler and Mariner have used the map to go to the third move of Shatnari. Emphasis on the Shat.
Speak of Shat.
They beam down to a rocky landscape reminiscent of a certain shitty movie directed by Shatner, and come upon a growing rock cluster with that forms a hand and a face. The formation introduces itself as a Kithiha and asks them of the truth they seek. And of course, when Boimler asks what the purpose of life is, it starts spouting random inspirational quotes. So Boimler just runs in, starts punching a hole in, crawls within, and finds a glowing sign that reads Kithiha, and of course wipes it off and finds out it's the right flyer from Kitty Hawk, not Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah.
He goes complete, and basically he starts screaming and then starts kicking the walls, screams, blacks out, comes to and finds himself no longer in the movie because the bars have disappeared, and finds himself the residence of one James T. Kirk. Of course, he broaches the guy brushing a horse and finds out that it is the one and only Captain Sulu himself.
Yep.
Voiced by George Takei. And this is probably one of those moments that is really, really cool because he talks to Sulu about finding meaning in death, and Sulu shares about how he's lost people, and there's a lot of meaning here because obviously we're down to 3 members of the original series crew. Takei,
Koenig,
Shatner, of course, and why can't I remember his name?
It's Walter Koenig.
Walter Koenig, thank you. That's pretty much it. Everybody else is gone and headed to space because that's awesome. So they talk about it, and the only downside to this is that you could tell George Takei his age is finally catching because, it took me a little bit to hear George Takei in George Takei because he sounded really old, but you could tell the years were there, and it was still really cool. And, of course, then Boimler, once he starts to realize the truth, he then, of course, starts to fanboy out because, holy shit, it's Sulu. And Sulu says, okay, the horse is going to bite you now, and the horse bites him in the neck. Which immediately turns out it's Ta'ana slapping him with a hypo spray and telling him he's got to worry about got to be careful about dehydration in the holodeck.
Yeah, I don't understand that one, but still, I guess it's a good Deus Ex Machina. Or not even that, more of a MacGuffin. Kind of a weird thing to explain why something happens.
Either way, it was really cool. Really cool way to stick an original series cast member in there for the biggest and best cameo we got. Number 2, of course, is Riker.
Yeah.
Because Riker with the beard. Damn it.
I don't know. What about Sonia Gomez?
She was a number 3. I mean, she was the come from behind awesome pick. Because great character that I wish hadn't gotten 3 episoded and yeeted out of the series.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So now Boimler, of course, eventually apologizes for making such a lackluster movie, but Mariner's okay with it because obviously Boimler needed what he needed, and Tendi was like going off about how really cool it was, and they're talking, and they're glad that they didn't end it with a cliffhanger, and it's just a good happy ending, and that's the episode. Except,
wait a minute. There's
we
more?
cut to some redacted place where a Defiant class starship decloaks, and inside they open a tube, burial photon tube, revealing the body of William Boimler. They hit him with a hyperspray. He wakes up, and welcome says he's considered dead, and welcomes to the Section 31. He points out the stupidity of their badge, and they all say, "Oh, you could still be dead." Okay, and evil laugh. And what the fuck?
Yeah, like seriously, that's the thing with Lower Decks is that I think the part of it that makes it work so well for these guys is that they literally have a treasure trove of material to pull from, and because this is half serious, half tongue in cheek, they can do pretty much whatever they want with it.
Although I think from what I understand, they have some limitations in interacting with prior things like hanging out with the D or doing anything in Voyager settings. They can bring people in. I just realized we forgot Tom Paris's cameo. I feel like shit now.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh wait a minute, it's Tom Paris.
But still, I mean, it's a again another great episode of Lower Decks. I think we have. What do we got? 10 episodes this season. So
yeah, we are. This was episode 8, so
we got 2 more.
We got 2 more episodes to finish out the season, and I have a feeling we're not going to see Peanut Hamper, and Agamas or William Boimler show back. I don't know. Do we have any? Do we even have titles for the episodes yet? No.
That's a good question. Let us go to the Wikipedia.
Yeah. Memory Alpha doesn't have anything. Check Greater Wikipedia. I mean, they could literally take anything. They could take it anywhere they want here. And while there are some ups and downs to every episode, and I've heard people that really didn't like the Peanut Hamper episode, but it was a good setup for the next. It was a good setup for something next season, so it may turn out to be really awesome, giving Peanut Hamper an asshole arc, and finding a way to take William Boimler off the map from Bradward's view. Although this is the second transporter clone to turn evil. Ish. I wouldn't exactly say Thomas Riker was evil. He was kind of just, he turned against Starfleet.
Yeah, mostly. I mean, pretty much. But let's see here.
But of course, Boimler's pure evil.
Yeah, I don't see anything really on what episode 9 or 10 is supposed to be called. So.
So yeah. This was just, we did some things we made some fun of some of the movies in the first Crisis Point, but this one they really tore into making fun of things. I mean, we got time travel, we've got Star Trek 2 references, we got Star Trek 5 references, we have
the Kelvin
a Nemesis reference that thankfully doesn't remind us of how shitty Nemesis is. We have reason why even not a great Star Trek movie is still mostly worth watching. Generally, even Star Trek 5. I mean, this episode was just, I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, even though they've strayed away from the A-B plot situation, I mean, this technically did kind of have an A-B plot feel to it, because you had the Boimler and Mariner side of things, and you had Tendi kind of, going through her stuff, trying to make a point that she's taking things seriously. So yeah, I get it a little bit, but not quite traditionally. Like previous episodes have been very split down the middle. They've been very clear that there are 2 separate plots going on, whereas these tend to be a little bit more meshed together, and that's still a good thing. They're still managing to tell really good stories.
Yeah, and that's really what it's about, is telling something that 1 is a good story, 2 funny as hell, and 3 feels like Star Trek. And while it's making fun of all the stupid stuff in Star Trek, it still feels like Starfleet officers doing Starfleet things in Starfleet movies.
Yep.
Which is always worth doing. Always.
Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of Treknicity. I thoroughly enjoy doing these wrap-up and recap episodes because we get to talk about the cool stuff that we watch. Anybody who likes our stuff, if you want to find out more about what we're doing, look down here. You see these right here. There's all those cool things right there. Those are our links to social media, and also you can check us out at anchor.fm/Treknicity if you want to listen to us while you drive around or you're just listening to stuff on your phone or your mobile device or whatever.
Also, there's tree in front of you. Ah!
That's right.
Oh,
exactly.
Sorry.
So, thank you for watching Treknicity. I'm Lars.
I'm Patrick.
And as always, we encourage you to rock out, which is Spock out. We will see you next time.